Welcome everybody. Today we're going to build Boba Fett's Gaffi stick. I started with the weighted part and I got a solid piece of wood to turn on the lathe so that way I could be able to try to match that as close as possible. I think it's supposed to be made of metal or something like that if you're going by the movie anyway, and what's supposed to be real within the movie. But I can't actually work in that type of material. I don't have the tools for it, so I went ahead and made it out of wood, which that makes it easier, and it's still pretty heavy. The first piece of wood that I got, as soon as I started turning it, it cracked in half and just about popped me in the head. So I went ahead and switched to another type of wood, and once I switched to that type of wood, everything worked out the way it's supposed to anyway. And as you see, I started turning the details and carving in some of the basic ideas. The rest of the detail I hand carved into it using a Dremel and some files and sandpaper. I got it worked down so that it would have the details that you see in the TV show. As you see here, this is a close-up from the TV show to give you an idea of what I was trying to copy. I used a real good solid wood to be able to cut the other details into it. This is a piece of oak with black walnut glued onto it. I put the black walnut at the end because it's even more solid, and I needed something that would be sturdy to hold that weighted part. I used the big bandsaw to cut this so that way I could be able to slice through it the way it needed to be. I used a router to cut all the edges so that way I could round it out. And then I had to actually come in and hand sand the rest of it because it's not a perfectly rounded piece. Down towards the end, it starts getting a little bit more of an oval shape. And as you see in the clip, it's a little bit difficult to actually shape that with just a router, so you do have to get in there with your hands. And the part that was the hand grip, I ended up hand carving that. And it's a little sloppy because stuff that I seen on the internet of Tuskin Raiders, they were not perfect with the stuff. I mean, they're supposed to be living off the land type of creatures, and so I guess they're not really going to be perfect with their carvings and stuff. So I'm assuming that Boba Fett probably took this from one of the Tuskin Raiders. I don't think he necessarily would have sat there and made it himself. Maybe he did, I don't know. We don't know that with the TV show as of right now. But I figured I would go ahead and run with what I know and keep it kind of sloppy so that way it resembles what I would feel that it's supposed to look like. But you can of course do yours any way you want to. If you want to try to be perfectly clean with it, maybe there's going to be a book that comes out that's going to show you a little bit better detail by the time you see this video. I don't know, but I just did a series of lines and like some little dots carved in because that's kind of what it looks like. And then once you start getting the paint on it and start looking at it, you can see what you're coming up with, and it starts coming together and looking fairly decent after just a short amount of work. I tried to create a spear out of one of the ends of the metal, but being that it's aluminum and trying to shape it, it's almost impossible to get it to go the way you want to unless you really know how to do metal work. I just really don't know how to do metal work like that, so that's why I ended up going with just a piece of wood and gluing it in and sanding it all down to shape it out. And after I came up with the idea of looking around on the internet and seeing that it may be a crate dragon tooth or something at the end, once I determined that, it kind of made more sense anyway to be a piece glued on. And the fins is made of metal blank. Being that I work in t-shirts and signs, I've got a lot of metal blanks laying around, so I figured that would be an easy way to put this together and make it really look like what it's supposed to be. You can use just about anything. I mean, I've seen people even use Coroplast and various other types of material. You can even use cardboard if you just want to do that. But there's all kinds of ways you can make this. There's people that's used PVC pipes and just kind of built the whole thing together like that. So you can do just about anything whenever you're wanting to make something just for a display piece. And a lot of the stuff that I was putting together, I used a high grade super glue and some wood glue to be able to put different things on, so that way it would just about hold forever. And as you see, I was using screws to be able to mount the different things so it's not going to come apart. You could technically use this as a weapon and it's not going to break. I even sawed off a bolt to be able to attach the peg at the end, so that way it's going to be on there solid, and I put glue and everything else on it, so it's not going to go anywhere. And I tried to balance everything so that way I could put the different pieces together the way I wanted it, and I used its balance to be able to position the fins so they're the way it looks like they're supposed to be on the TV show. At this stage, you should have something like this. All the parts are glued up and ready to go. All you need to do is get the paint on it. And once you're done with the build, then you decide if you want to paint it or not. Some people may not even want to bother to paint it. They might want to make it look like just pieces that was put together, because that's what it's supposed to be. So, but of course I wanted it to match the TV show, so I took it to my paint booth and started painting the details in. And I got the handle where I sort of stained the wood and then used a brown spray paint just to enhance it over the top of. The fins and the other parts I painted silver. I went ahead and sprayed on a little bit of white on the end, so that way it kind of had that tooth look about it. I put some orange on the weighted part, so that way it looked like some rusted iron or something, because I'm thinking that's what, more than likely, in the idea of Star Wars and the myth of what it's supposed to be made of, I would think it's supposed to be like iron or some part of a ship or something. It's got to be something within that anyway. So I would think it would have some rust on it. Most of the stuff I've seen online, that's usually what they seem to do, is put a little bit of rust look to it. So I would think that's probably what it's supposed to be. So overall, you're looking at wood, if it was real anyway, let's just say. You're looking at a piece of wood and then iron with an iron peg on it. That's, I don't even know what it would be for. I guess just a stabbing part or something. And then you would have the other side that's would be like a metal rod with the fins and I guess a tooth on the end. I guess that would be roughly what you would be looking at if it was a real weapon. Material I used, though, I used the curtain rod, which is aluminum, and then I used an aluminum blank, which that's what the fins are. And then the idea of the tooth, I used a piece of wood that I turned, and the other side is a big piece of wood for the handle. And then the weighted part is another piece of wood, and then the peg is another piece of wood. So, but like I said, you could use whatever material you have on hand. You could use foam or just about anything. And I taped off the areas on the handle and stuff, so that way I could be able to get the silver into the areas that, as best as I can tell, it looks like it has on the TV show. I turned the peg on a lathe so that way I could be able to get the shape that I wanted, but I couldn't exactly tell what it's supposed to look like on the clips of the TV show. So I kind of drifted a little bit towards mixing some of the other Tusken Raider stuff with my idea and the TV show together, so that way I could be able to create what I've ended up with. The spear part that I figure is a tooth, I just used the lathe and turned it down and shaped it to what I needed. And then I used some other tools to be able to kind of sand it a little bit to make it a little rough, so it looked like it was kind of hand kind of hand sharpened or something, like maybe the Tusken Raiders sat and carved it down or sharpened it themselves, because I don't know if they would have had some kind of a power tool or what. There are several builds of Gaffi sticks online. I've seen plenty of people that's made them. Seen people that's made them where they're functional weapons that you could even do various different things with. The one that I'm making, you could technically use it as a weapon, but I'm not really here to do that. I'm just making something that's a display piece. There's actually several different kinds of Gaffi sticks out there. If you look around on the internet, you'll end up finding a variety of different ways that they're made. And I guess because of the nature of what they're supposed to be, they're going to be different. Depending on the Tusken Raider that makes it, it could look extremely different from one to the next. And as you can see, the weighted part on the end, it's made in different ways too. The one Boba Fett has, it's kind of flat, sort of UFO looking shaped. But most of the ones that you've seen from the Star Wars movies, they're generally kind of compact looking and rounded. And as far as I know, the functionality is just for that, it being a weight. So whenever they're striking, whatever they're using to stab the other end with, the weight helps plunge it to, I guess, kill somebody or kill their prey or whatever. You can also see from some of these images that I'm showing you that the end part is kind of rounded off, I guess, on some of them. And some of them are actually kind of cut as an angle where it's got a pointed part. And then some of them's actually just sharpened with a point on the end. The one Boba Fett uses in the TV show is a little bit different than the traditional Gaffi sticks that you see in the movie, and you've seen them in the comic books and stuff like that too. So it's not exactly the same as most of those. And I tried to match it as best as possible. The one he uses, it's got a more of an angle with the weighted part, and he's using that to hook the stormtroopers and pull their legs, and he yanks the guns out of their hands and uses it in different ways than what you traditionally were seeing the Tusken Raiders use it. And yeah, they're also called Sand People, but the straightforward name is Tusken Raider is what they've normally had called them, and Sand People, I guess, was supposed to have been like a slur on their name. And the idea, as far as I can tell, is Boba Fett is supposed to have either been living with the Tusken Raiders or living around them. As I said, I've seen a lot of people that's made Gaffi sticks, and they've done them in different ways. But I have not seen anybody that's made the Boba Fett Gaffi stick yet. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and make one and show you how to do it. Without having real good screenshots, you can't exactly match it perfectly. I was able to get screen grabs straight off of the TV show, but as with anything, when you get it off of TV, it's going to be a little blurry, so you don't know if you got the details exactly right. I ended up trying to match mine based off of other Tusken Raider Gaffi sticks. There's a lot of images of the original Tusken Raider Gaffi sticks, and you can use that to kind of go off of. In the Mandalorian TV show, you can kind of see some of the detail whenever he's moving around and fighting the stormtroopers, but you can't exactly tell what these particular areas are. You can just tell that there's some kind of detail there. I just assumed that it must be hand grips, because the original Gaffi sticks that Tusken Raiders have had, some of the different images online, you can tell from there, it's just like little grips on it. And so I would assume that's what it is. And you can be messy with it because these are supposed to be handmade by the Tusken Raiders. And as you see on the end part, it's got all the different areas from where I got the weld marks. I use JB Weld, but the idea is supposed to be that the Tusken Raiders had welded it onto a metal rod and sharpened the metal rod. So some of them I saw that it had a little bit of white on the end, And so that's what I was wondering, if maybe there was some kind of an animal tooth or something, maybe a crate dragon tooth. I had no idea really. But I went ahead and kind of made mine a little bit white. There's a few scenes in Mandalorian where it looks like Boba Fett's has a white end on it. So it could be that it's a crate dragon tooth. When finished, it should look pretty close to the one in the Mandalorian TV show. So I hope you enjoyed the build. It was pretty fun to do. If you want to give it a try, you can make it out of just about anything. I chose wood and metal and various other things because that's what I had on hand, and I went out and bought the curtain rods. But overall, it was a fairly easy project. What I ended up coming out with, I think, looks pretty close to the TV show. It took about 2 days maybe to put it all together and do the paint. So if you'd like to make one, go ahead and give it a try. Let me know and give me some pictures. I wouldn't mind seeing what you do. I wouldn't even mind seeing a couple of the people that work in foam to see what they could come up with. That would probably be a real fun video to see too. So if you like what you saw today, there's going to be more to come. I'm only getting started. Please like, share, subscribe, and do all the other YouTube stuff. Ring the bell notification so you'll know whenever I upload new videos. And we'll see you next week.